Well, Caleb, we're going to move on to, some New York Jets news. Obviously, you guys have now hired a new head coach. His name is Robert Saleh. Personally, I actually do like the hire. When I actually covered and broke the story, I said that Robert Saleh to me is the exact opposite of Adam Gase. Adam Gase was actually brought in to be the guy to develop and get the most out of Sam Darnold, and he couldn't do that at all. He was just not a good head coach. Only won 9 games in his 2 years as the head coach with the Jets. He had a 9-23 record, 9 wins, 23 losses. Obviously, he was brought in to develop Sam Darnold. That did not work out at all. Sam Darnold has regressed during his time with Adam Gase. I feel sorry for Sam Darnold. And you look at Adam Gase, several players, that have escaped his offensive system have gone to do really good things. You look at Ryan Tannehill. People thought that he was a first-round bust in Miami. Well, it turns out he goes to Tennessee with a great roster, gets coached by Mike Vrabel. He's playing some really good football. He's a legitimate franchise quarterback playing in a much different system, and it's pretty clear that Adam Gase was the problem as far as screwing Ryan Tannehill's development. You look at Devontae Parker, another wide receiver that was in Adam Gase's system. People said, oh, Devontae Parker's a first-round bust. He gets away from that system. He looks like a first-round wide receiver. So we've seen several players, be really just held back by Adam Gase's system, and whatnot. And I think that Robert Saleh, look, he's a defensive-minded guy. He's not an offensive-minded guy. The Jets went the opposite direction, but I'm okay with that because, you look at Bill Belichick, a big reason why Tom Brady was able to win so many Super Bowls is because Bill Belichick held that defense down, you know what I'm saying? And you look at, Terry Bradshaw, you look at Joe Montana, you look at Tom Brady. They're great all-time Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but they always had really good defenses. And if you can find a dynamic quarterback or get the most out of Sam Darnold, if you're holding teams that are 30 points a game pretty much every Sunday, you're gonna win a lot of football games. So I really like the fact that the Jets actually hired a defensive-minded guy. Robert Saleh seems like a very fiery guy with energy. He's going to, really zero in on developing players. That's something Adam Gase really did not do. He was reluctant to develop players, did not make adjustments. The team seemed uninspired, unprepared under him. Robert Saleh, to me, is a breath of fresh air for the New York Jets organization because he's going to come in, he's going to bring that hard-nosed mentality to that franchise. I believe that he's going to go out his way to relate to these players. He seems like a player's head coach. Obviously, the 49ers did really good things when he was the defensive coordinator in San Francisco. They almost won a Super Bowl. No shame in losing to Patrick Mahomes because he's amazing, as well as Andy Reid's a really good head coach. But yeah, I like the Robert Saleh hire. What are your expectations for Robert Saleh? And, what was your reaction when the Jets actually hired him? What do you think about the hire?
Well, you pretty much touched on this. He's the anti-Adam Gase. Adam Gase, he was the head coach of the offense, and that was his only thing. And he hired Greg Williams to be the head coach of the defense. He did not have any interactions really with the defense, and it was Adam Gase's offense. If you're not good at this, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And you also mentioned they played uninspired. That's why Adam Gase had more losses by double digits than he did wins as the head coach of the New York Jets. It's terrible. And he doesn't light a fire under these guys. And Robert Saleh, phenomenal hire. Absolutely love the hire. And I didn't even think we'd come close to getting him. I thought he was almost a sure thing in Detroit, seeing as he's from the area. He's from Dearborn. And when I was putting together like my list of like candidates that as a Jets fan I'd be interested in and would want the Jets to hire, I didn't consider him because I thought he was going to Detroit. I thought guys like Matt Campbell. And part of that might be because I, like you, a University of Toledo student, and him being from here, that would have been really awesome for me as a fan. But one thing that I wanted for a head coach, and the Jets, when they fired Gase, said they were going to look for is a CEO head coach, a guy that goes and relates to the players, develops the players, and he's a head coach of the entire team, all aspects of it. Robert Saleh fits that mold perfectly. That shows by he's not even going to be calling defensive plays. His defensive coordinator that he hired, Jeff Ulbrich, is going to be calling the defensive plays. So it'll give Saleh more room to just be the head coach of the entire team. And he's a player's guy, and he said in his press conference, like, he's going to do whatever it takes to help make sure his players get the most amount of money possible. So he's going to try putting his players in positions to succeed. And he was pretty much speaking of like them being a family and all gas, no brakes. I love that punchline. All gas, no brakes. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you better be giving it your all, and you go to bed better than you wake up. His introductory press conference, I was ready to put on some pads and run through a brick wall. It was not like Dan Campbell's at all. He didn't talk about taking people's kneecaps off, but Robert Saleh said exactly what he needed to. Compared to Adam Gase, where he had like the googly eyes, like what's going on here for his conference, and the staff he's putting together is a legitimate coaching staff too. Adam Gase, his staff, it was a bunch of offensive guys that he brought over from Miami who were just going to be yes men. It's going to be Adam Gase runs the show and no one else really has a voice. Gase never hired a quarterback coach. He hired his buddy Dowell Loggins to be the offensive coordinator, but his main job appeared to be holding the challenge flag. He had no pass game coordinator, no run game coordinator, none of that stuff. Robert Saleh comes in, he hires Mike LaFleur, who is a Shanahan. I mean, he pretty much graduated with an A in the Shanahan School for Offense.
And he's related to Matt LaFleur, who's doing some really good things with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Since Matt LaFleur has gotten to Green Bay, the team, I believe, has gone 13-3, back-to-back seasons, back-to-back NFC Championship game appearances. It obviously helps that he has Aaron Rodgers, but yeah, I think that he's a pretty good offensive coordinator, or at least he projects to be Mike LaFleur.
Right. And he's going to be bringing that Shanahan-style offense, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. You mentioned Matt LaFleur. I think it's funny. Robert Saleh was Matt LaFleur's best man at his wedding. So he's got that connection with the LaFleur family, and that's why he was able to bring him over from San Francisco. But that was also a sticking point to hiring Saleh as a head coach, is that you are bringing LaFleur. Because that's the issue a lot of times when you hire defensive guys. All right, who's going to run the offense? This league is all about offense, and I've seen Jets fans like, why are we hiring a defensive guy when our offensive coordinator is going to take a head coaching job someday? Really? I don't remember the last time a Jets position coach went somewhere to interview for a better position. So a position coach becoming a coordinator becoming a head coach. That is a problem I will gladly have.
Yeah, and not to really cut you off, but, you look at Bill Belichick. People say, Robert Saleh can't call plays. Well, Bill Belichick never really called the plays in New England. You look at Jimmy Johnson. He's a really good head coach, great head coach. He never was known for his play calling. So as long as Robert Saleh gets the right guys in the building to, do the things that he knows he can't do and allow them to execute that at a high level, I think that he's definitely going to have some success.
Right. And the staff he's hiring a diverse amount of guys. He's hiring young guys, veteran guys, and people that are going to collaborate and they're going to have competitive mindsets. We didn't have that the last 2 years, maybe 3 years. 2 years definitely with Adam Gase because they were all yes men. He never had anyone challenging him on anything. We have an actual quarterback coach, Rob Calabrese, who almost started a game this year for the Denver Broncos instead of Kendall Hilton. So we got an actual quarterback coach, a legitimate offensive line coach. We brought over John Benton from the 49ers to be the offensive line coach and the run game coordinator. Benton, look at his offensive line that he helped develop in San Francisco. They have a good offensive line, and they were missing pieces. So he's bringing a good, diverse staff. Jeff Ulbrich, who's going to be calling the defensive plays, he got to call some defensive plays towards the latter half of the Falcons season. I thought he did a pretty good job. The Falcons defense played a lot better with him at the helm. Now, I don't know if that was more him or Raheem Morris, but still, he had a say. And the development of players was huge. The 49ers, I think his defense this year was better than last year. If you look at what he had to work with, they had the number 6 defense in the NFL. They were missing Nick Bosa. DeForest Buckner was traded. Eric Armstead was gone. Richard Sherman, they were just depleted with injuries, and yet they still were the number 6 defense in the NFL. That just shows that he knows how to put players in the right positions to succeed, while also developing players too and helping them get better. That's exactly what the Jets need right now. He is the perfect guy, and I have no doubt that he's going to be a good coach. And I am so glad he came to the Jets. And what mind boggles me is he wanted the Jets job. The Jets were not a top 3 coaching job, in my opinion. They lost that right when they lost out on the first overall pick. And we got arguably a top 3 candidate. How he managed that one? No idea. I think that goes to show like what Joe Douglas, new general manager, the culture he's bringing in, and the structure he's building there. Robert Saleh got to his car before he left on a plane for Philly. No, to Florida to meet with Philly. Called his wife and said, if they call, we're going to New York. There was no like back and forth, like arguing between teams. He wanted the Jets job. And that's almost a breath of fresh air for us too, because like, whoa, people might actually want to come to New York now. Where in the past, it's like, all right, if you've got it, like Joe Douglas is an example, not just players, but personnel. Joe Douglas, we wanted him to be the general manager. And he's proven that he should get a general manager job. He worked with the Eagles. He helped build the Super Bowl team there. He was on the Ravens staff for a while. Joe Douglas, he was rising through the ranks and highly respected throughout the league. So when they fired Mike Maccagnan after the draft, which was really dumb, but it's the Jets, they went after Joe Douglas. And they kept going after him. And he said no. They go after him again. He said no. Until they got him a 6-year contract. It's like, all right, fine. If you're going to give me 6 years, you're going to give me time to rebuild this thing from the ground up. All right, let's do this. And we've had to overpay for free agents in the past. Now it's because we can get free agents to come to New York without overpaying.
Now, I mean, some of the stuff that players are saying, like Richard Sherman is telling guys to go play for Saleh. The players might, I mean...
That speaks volume to him by a lot.
Exactly. Coming from Richard Sherman, it means a lot. But we still got to see how the offseason plays out. It's very early on. But as a fan, I'm very excited for the future for the first time in a long time.
Got it. I think that Robert Saleh kind of looked at the amount of draft capital and cap space that the Jets had, and that's really what kind of drove him to potentially, go to New York. And obviously, expectations are kind of low, obviously, because you're a New York team. There's going to be some fans that are riled up and want the team to do so good so early. So, look, it's gonna take some time. The Jets are not going to be this playoff team in year number 1, but I do think that Robert Saleh definitely can turn them around. We'll see what he can do going forward. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God-blessed day, and I'm out.